Peter Thiel, Antichrist lectures, FBI informant, let's talk about it. Rewinds to 2023, how the secret got out. So this whole FBI thing came to light back in 2023 when Insider dropped a bombshell. They revealed that back in 2021, Thiel had quietly agreed to serve as a confidential human source for the FBI. His handler was a Los Angeles counterintelligence agent named Jonathan Boomer, and inside the bureau, Thiel even had a code name, Philosopher. But he picked that himself, honestly, but he loved it. But yeah, that's right, the same guy who rails against big government, funds far-right candidates, and invests in defense contractors was feeding information to the FBI. Now, if you're thinking, why the hell would Peter Thiel do that? Well, the answer is messy but very on brand. What is an FBI informant? First, let's be clear about what it means to be an FBI informant. We're not talking about like calling the tip line once in a while. The Bureau calls them confidential human sources, or CHSs. These people are formally recruited, vetted, and documented as assets. Agents write reports on their meetings, keep case files, and according to the FBI's own rules, the relationship will, quote, forever affect the life of that individual. The FBI runs thousands of CHSs at any given time. Why? Because they give agents eyes and ears in places the government can't reach on its own. Organized crime families, extremist groups, foreign intelligence networks, you name it. Informants slip in where subpoenas can't. Once you're a CHS, you're either an FBI source or a former FBI source. There's no going back. Why Peter Thiel? So why would the FBI want Peter Thiel? Easy. Access. Peter Thiel isn't just some billionaire with a yacht. He's the co-founder of Palantir, the surveillance and data mining giant that literally sells software to the FBI, CIA, and the Pentagon. He's an early investor in Facebook, a kingmaker in venture capital, and a political donor with a direct line to Republican power brokers. He's a powerful dude. All of that, though, makes him a magnet for foreign overtures. If you're Russia, China, or any other country looking to burrow into Silicon Valley, Peter Thiel is on your wish list. And that's exactly what happened. The Kremlin came calling. According to Insider and The Atlantic, Thiel told his FBI handler about Russian attempts to draw him closer. In 2018, at a Vienna birthday party for financier Christian Angermayer, a Russian diplomat named Daniil Bisslinger extended an invite to meet Vladimir Putin. The same offer surfaced again in 2022. Thiel was a very good boy and reported both approaches. A former FBI counterintelligence chief spelled out why that mattered. Anytime a Russian official is inviting someone to meet with Vladimir Putin, that has potential significance. For the FBI, having Thiel on record about those contacts was gold. It meant a potential Kremlin operation that never got off the ground. The insurance policy of the super rich. But let's flip the question. What did Thiel get out of this? At minimum, protection. If hostile powers are knocking on your door, having the FBI in the loop is a pretty good shield. At maximum, leverage. A relationship with the Bureau can smooth over security, keep investigators close, and signal to rivals that you've got backup. And don't forget, Peter Thiel has plenty of reasons to hedge. He's already faced scrutiny for avoiding billions in taxes using his Roth IRA, and as one source put it, the death of Jeffrey Epstein, who had reportedly scheduled meetings with Thiel, served as a sort of cautionary tale. When the walls close in, even extravagant wealth doesn't buy safety anymore. Charles Johnson, the right-wing operative who helped introduce Thiel to the FBI, put it in pretty blunt terms. I told him to join up or get crushed. So this wasn't about civic duty. It was about survival. The power of playing both sides. And that's why this matters. Peter Thiel has built his image on fighting government overreach. He bankrolls post-democratic politicians, talks endlessly about civilizational collapse, and backs candidates who call the FBI corrupt. But when the chips were down, he politely became one of their most prominent informants. That's not a contradiction, that's the strategy. Thiel doesn't care about ideology as much as he cares about positioning himself, so he's always useful, no matter who's actually in charge. Meet the handler. Okay, so let's talk about the handler, Jonathan Boomer. At the time, Jonathan was a counterintelligence agent in LA. His job was to track foreign influence operations targeting the US. And he didn't just manage Peter Thiel. After leaving the bureau, he claimed he'd also raised alarms about another billionaire being targeted, Elon Musk. Oh wow, Elon is involved somehow. What a massive surprise. Here's how it went down. In 2022, a man named Igor Kurganov, a Russian-born poker player turned philanthropist, suddenly became very close to Elon Musk, advising him on various charitable projects. Jonathan Boomer says that set off alarms inside the FBI. Elon's own wealth manager, Jared Birchall, later admitted he cornered Elon to warn him about Kurganov's influence, and eventually pushed Kurganov out of a charitable role. Kurganov hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing, but the episode shows the exact kind of scenario that Jonathan Boomer and his source Peter Thiel were tasked with flagging. And remember, Jonathan described Peter Thiel as receptive to collaboration and threat briefings. In other words, Thiel wasn't resisting, he was engaged. The case against Jonathan Boomer. Now here's where it gets even messier and more interesting. In 2025, after leaving the bureau, Jonathan himself was charged by the Justice Department for mishandling FBI files. Prosecutors say he printed 130 classified documents while drafting a memoir. He denies it, the case is kind of ongoing, but that casts a shadow over the whole Peter Thiel arrangement. It means the story of Thiel as informant isn't just about him, it's also about the chaos inside the FBI and how leaky, politicized, and dangerous these back channels can actually be. The FBI's dirty little secret. So let's zoom out again. Why does the FBI lean so heavily on informants? Well, because it works. From mob bosses to terrorists to Capitol rioters, the Bureau has used CHSs to crack open networks from the inside. Remember Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys leader sentenced to 22 years for his role on January 6? He was an FBI informant. So were at least 2 other rioters. Even Trump himself apparently once offered to help the FBI against mobsters in Atlantic City. This is the Bureau's pattern. It all cut deals with the very people it publicly condemns, because informants offer something more valuable than a clean narrative: access. And for billionaires, it offers something just as valuable in return: a lifeline. Peter Thiel wasn't the first controversial figure to cut a deal with the feds, and he won't be the last. Back to the Antichrist. While Peter Thiel waxes poetic about apocalypses, St. Paul and peace and safety,
The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety.
the real revelation isn't in these sold-out lectures. It's in the fact that when foreign powers came knocking, he just whispered straight into the FBI's ear. This is who Peter Thiel is. The billionaire who trashes democracy in public, cashes government contracts in private, bankrolls firebrands who hate the feds, and then quietly becomes one of the FBI's most prominent informants. That's not ideology, it's just insurance. So, Peter Thiel, billionaire, political kingmaker, apocalypse lecturer, and FBI informant. Is this patriotism? Paranoia? Raw power calculation? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're into deep dives on the secret lives of billionaires, the Epstein networks, the Allison empire, the Musk influence of it all, make sure you hit subscribe. We've got new videos dropping 5 days a week, and you never know what's coming next with these freaks, okay? So get involved. If you like this video because you find Peter Thiel the vampire very interesting, check out my deep dive into him and his weird New Zealand citizenship debacle. I guess he's technically my fellow countryman in some way. Oh, gross, weird, ugh. Bye!